Okay, so we're going to start with a prayer this morning, and then I'll explain a little bit more about what we're doing today. I want to start with the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Amen.
So I want to start with St. Francis for several reasons. One, it's my favorite prayer, but two, I'm not sure how many people know how St. Francis is associated with Advent. But were you aware that St. Francis is credited with being the person to start the first nativity scene?
No. Tell me.
Trivia moment there.
Double jeopardy.
He apparently set up in a cave a nativity scene with real people and real animals. It was the first instance. And then from that practice, people developed the nativity scenes, which is why Italy is most closely associated with nativity scenes. So that's your factoid for the day. I also chose to start with St. Francis because he took a vow of poverty. And I think probably most people know that he came from a very wealthy family. Matter of fact, he was charged with giving away his father's property. But he started the Franciscans, and it was a vow of poverty. And he also helped St. Clare start the poor Clares. Any rate, so I wanted to start. Today's task is about creative generosity and how we can find gifts, a way of gift giving that's less dependent on spending money at places we normally might frequent for gifts. And this year, there were a number of organizations calling for a boycott on Black Friday, which we've already passed, but they're actually asking people to carry it through, to boycott Amazon, Target, Walmart, Home Depot, McDonald's, and other places. So one of the people that we've been reading in the Thursday Book Club is James Wallace, and he has a Substack. Substack is a place to post notices. And he wrote a post called Reclaiming the Season of Giving. And I'm going to give this handout to you later, but it just has some examples that I didn't want you to see before we had our interactive. But he wrote, each year, the weeks before Christmas are meant to draw us closer to one another and to God. Instead, they have become a season of endless consumption and distraction. Companies like Amazon encourage us to measure our love by what we buy and how fast it arrives. But Advent was never meant to be a countdown to more stuff. It is an invitation to pause, reflect, and prepare our hearts for the coming of Christ. He followed that post with another post that said, no Amazon for Advent. And he wrote, instead of enriching the world's wealthiest, we choose to strengthen the places and people that make our communities whole. We choose local businesses struggling to survive, nonprofits caring for the vulnerable, and neighbors in need of compassion. We choose to pass down memories to our new generations through the gifting of heirlooms and other items that might hold special importance to us and our families. We practice being intentional by spending less on things and more on purpose. So that's what I was going to focus our conversation on today, is spending less on things and more on purpose. And so I did want to start with another story. How many of you are familiar with the gift of the Magi? It's an O. Henry story. You might have, oh good, someone that doesn't know the O. Henry story. O. Henry was a writer around the time Mark Twain that wrote stories that always had a twist at the end. And so the gift of the Magi is a story of a young couple, late 19th century, who have no money. And they want to give each other a Christmas gift. And the woman has very long, beautiful hair, and the man has one possession, a watch, a pocket watch. And come Christmas morning, when they go to exchange their gifts, she reveals she has cut off all of her hair in order to get money to buy him a gift, a watch fob for his pocket watch. And he steps back because he sold his pocket watch to get money to buy her these beautiful combs for her hair that she had seen in a window, and she had no hair left. Well, her hair would grow out, but he had no pocket watch left. So he said, let's put these gifts away for later. But it was, I mean, it's a more detailed story than that. But the idea of giving a gift by giving up something that you owned in order to get something for someone else. Now, I'm hopeful that people are not, spending so much money that you have to give up something. But I wanted to do some exercises, thinking creatively. So something that doesn't rely on purchasing material goods. And here's my question for you to ponder. What's something that we never have enough of, that people complain, I don't have enough, that you could give away?
Time.
Time. And if, depending on what you read on the internet, it now has become attention. So your attention is worth something to social media and to commercial advertisers, because when they get your attention, they're sucking you in. So thinking about things that involve time, using your paper, write down some thoughts about gifts you might be able to give that involve time. And I'm going to give you two examples, because this is creative generosity, so it doesn't necessarily need to be a gift. But we're in a real winter now, folks. We're actually getting snow every other day this week. So an example of creative generosity is my neighbor last Sunday, when we had our 7 inches, blew out my public sidewalk. And this week, when we had 1 inch, I blew out his sidewalk. So we were tit for tat. But I'll give you an example of a gift that I'm giving, because I'm trying to be purposeful this year. My niece, and her husband, and my 7-year-old, soon to be 8-year-old nephew are coming to visit next summer. So I'm putting together Minnesota, a guide to making memories in Minnesota. And I'm taking postcards at different places that I hope to take them to. And that's going to be their gift, their primary gift. Is basically, my plan is to take you to these places, take you out to lunch, whatever. Grand Old Creamery, got to go to the Grand Old Creamery. So it's a gift of my time, and I'm not really spending anything. I will be spending something next summer, but mostly create memories. Okay, so that's to pump the well. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Just write down some things you think of in terms of giving time as a gift. Okay, so that was 5 minutes. And I do have a handout that I'm gonna give everyone. But I wanted this to have the conversation first, and then I will write down any suggestions that might not appear on my list. So don't leave without this. But I know we have one person that's listening on the Zoom, but does somebody want to start with what their ideas, some of their ideas?
I'm happy to start that way. I know I'm not repeating anybody.
I usually go first.
But I wrote a bunch of things down and
Okay.
I'll just do a few of them. So one of them, what you're doing today, what we had last week, what we have during these conversations is a gift to us of your time. So thank you for that. And we can all
Yes,
think
indeed.
about doing things like that. The music program here is a gift to me that I receive each week. The choir, the handbells, and that's time that those people, most of them, many of them are giving. And I think of gifts that I receive from others. I walk with a group of guys every Tuesday morning, and that's a gift of time to each other, to be there with each other. And so I work in a wood shop, volunteering, which is a gift, but I am also using scraps from that work to make some gifts for our family this year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I had 4 brothers. 2 of them are still living. And the deaths of the other 2 brothers have drawn the living siblings closer. And the gift that I was thinking about was to be more proactive and more consistent in having conversations with my 2 remaining brothers. I have a brother who's 10 years younger than I am, and the depth of our conversations has really blossomed in the last couple of years. Even to the point of he retired. My little brother retired recently. And he took a retirement job as a bus driver in Dubuque, Iowa, in the public bus system. So at some point, we're going to sit down, and he's taken notes. We're going to develop the template of a book or a play that is about his adventures of what he witnesses as a bus driver.
Great.
And that never would have happened 4 or 5 years ago. He was still considering me his meddling older sister, so I think we've gotten over that. And so that's, the gift is more contact with my brothers.
And I'm just gonna follow up on that with one of my friends. He and his extended family, which is across the country, they get together on a Zoom call every Sunday at a set time. And that's something that would not happen in my family, but I just thought, if that's the way, Zoom has become so common these days to be able to have that kind of exchange, whether it's once a month, once every 3 or 4 months, that's another gift.
Can I just punctuate that, Terry, because that was on my list, is a regularly scheduled Zoom call with my cousin Carl. And the regularity of it, I think, is what I consider to be the gift, because he had invited me to come visit him. I mean, we want to be together more, to have more interaction. And for a variety of reasons, I said, no, I don't want to do that. But I do want to set up a regular time to see him every week, instead of just spending a lot of money to get on an airplane and going. I'm not saying that's not great to sit in the same room and be with each other and actually see his face and be able to touch his arm, right? But the regularity of every Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Anyone else want to share? Yes, Phil.
Well, I thought I have an older sister, younger brother, and I thought I would write up memories of things they did that were generous or made an impact on me in our early, times together, and then send that off to them.
Yeah. I was, along that lines, I was thinking about, Advent. I have 3 siblings. And I was thinking I might every day close my eyes and make a recording of one memory that I have from childhood. And just do that every day. And then they could listen to it once a day. I mean, on a daily interval or however they chose, but rather than making a long, just focusing on one moment.
Yeah.
And really bring it back for them and for me.
Yes, Jan.
Taking the time to check in, it's another variation. I think of that and I go back to my mother and, well, both of my parents checked in with their parents almost every day. And I find that with the age, you're more inclined to want to do that. Phil's doing it with his older sister, and I think it's wonderful because she's suffered some terrific losses. Her sister, who is less than a year older than she, and her husband, and she is 91. So what we're doing as far as time, which goes both ways, I think. Tuesday, we're going to be away from home when we would, at least I would be doing a lot of busy stuff, probably buying a few books. I think that's okay.
It's okay. It's good.
That's what I'd largely give everybody. And I hope they like my choices. Anyway, we're going to Boston. And one of my older grandchildren danced the Nutcracker last night for the first time. In the Boston area. So it certainly is a gift to me. I looked at the clock last night and I was praying for her because this was her first of many performances. So, but there are other things that I think that are done within our neighborhood to create companionship and support. So I'm citing one retired pediatrician who does things for the cages that adores kids. So every year he hires for some fun. And is it tonight? Is it next Sunday? Yeah, no matter what. And everybody can sign up, but mostly, even if you have children, grandchildren who would enjoy it. And I just think that's a real gift. I mean, he is paying for it, but it's still a gift of our time because we join them when we no longer have smaller kids. So I've got quite a few things. Making a favorite dish, staying home rather than going, but to be companion.
Yes, then.
What I've been thinking about, and you're spurring me to get more specific about it, is to go over to Hallie Q. Brown
Mhm.
and ask them what is most needed right now and try to help with that. But besides money, are there what volunteer opportunities are there right now on the food shelf side or the clothing side? Or do they know of kids who might need help with reading? And I don't know how that connection happens, but I would really, really like to do that.
There are a lot of organizations that are looking for people to help children with reading.
Okay.
And that is something that, I mean, any volunteer opportunity, there are, well, I can't even tell you all the different organizations that are working with immigration right now just in the Twin Cities. And every one of them is looking for volunteers, and it could be anything from just, showing up to helping someone get from one place to another. If you've got language skills or if you've got skills working with social media, they are really desperate for people. And I think any kind of volunteer time is a gift. And it also enriches you in ways that you can't even imagine. Just in terms of the people you get in contact with. So
Terri, if you could ever make a list of the reading, I can appreciate that.
I
Talk to Liz.
go online and probably find some. I know that there's different schools that are looking for tutors. And I'll see what I can do. And I will hand this out in a minute, and I will put this up I'm going to put the additions on the Faith Forum, so that the things that people have mentioned today,
Okay.
I'm going to add. So, yes, Jan.
Oh, especially today, I'm gonna take time to go through the dozens of quotes I have because there are a lot of people freezing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the immigrant offer is, we've talked about that several times.
I think that's where regifting is sometimes, whether it's a gently used coat, but also in terms of a gift that's meaningful. And I didn't say, think of the age, but if you've got a book that's been particularly meaningful to you, I can't tell you how many copies of Abundance, The Gift of Abundance, Kimmerer's book,
Reading
Street Crumbs.
Pardon?
The Serviceberry.
The Serviceberry, thank you. Sorry, I was having a senior moment. I didn't bring that book as a show and tell.
Yeah.
But if there's a book you actually own, for those of us who are senior citizens that are trying to downsize, Betsy from the back, yes, a gift of a book that has been meaningful to you, that to a younger person or something. And I just want to mention, in terms of wrapping up things that are maybe of less cost, there is a book that is available at your public library called The Soul of Gift Wrapping. I just love that title. The Soul of Gift Wrapping. Creative Techniques for Expressing Gratitude Inspired by the Japanese Art of Giving. And it's this beautiful book, and I'll pass it around, of gift wrapping. And that doesn't cost anything. but so you could take a gift, say you're going to offer to take a friend out to lunch, wrap it up and put it in a special wrapping. But I think in terms of gifts of time, there may be money involved, or it could just be your time. Whether it's a shut-in, somebody that you know, there's somebody at Episcopal Homes, or maybe there's somebody in your neighborhood that you know, because we're having a real winter this year, may not be getting out. Offer to take them to the grocery store because, you know, if you live in St. Paul where they don't really know how to use a snowplow, start that, great. And we're gonna get to know all this week, so that's another example. Holly,
Yeah, another thing that occurred to me in terms of gifting time, because most of them have to do with the present moment of time, like whether you're doing something with someone or talking to someone. And I thought, you know, this idea of time is both past and future, right? And so how do I give the past of my time? And so that has to do with memory, it has to do with family history. So one of the things I was thinking of is giving away my scrapbooks of family photos. Okay, they're dear to me.
yeah,
But you know, my grandchildren or I mean, giving away, it's not my time, it's my past, maybe, or my history, but it's also it's a gift to them of their own history. So I don't know, just to think of time in addition to the present moment as something about past and future that you might link up.
and I think family photo albums, I'm doing the same thing with my niece. That, you know, there aren't physical photos anymore the way that when we were kids.
Exactly.
Everything was documented, whether you had a, you know, Kodak Brownie or whatever. But I mean, we were taking pictures and, you know, videos and things like that way before the phones. But the physical photographs are not something that everybody has anymore. So gifting, I'm doing the same thing. I have all my parents' photo albums that I've been going through, just trying to get the ones that have meaningful pictures to give to my niece. So
I do like that concept, and it
Yeah.
relates a bit to the book,
Exactly.
is that time was, is, and will be,
Will
and we
be.
think of the moment now as time, but it really is all of them at once. I like that.
anyone else want to share something that we haven't already mentioned? And Mary, I don't want to leave you out. If you want to talk, just let us know.
It seems to me that part of what Holly said triggered it, but in giving time, there's a lot of ways we do that only gives our time, but it doesn't give ourselves. So some of you talked about that in terms of phone calls, and relationship things where you are giving yourself and doing that. But a lot of other things don't really give yourself. You're not involved, engaged, you're not really present with the other, you're just doing something.
And I'm gonna just hand out some of the, I will be honest with where this idea first came up. Because, at the faith forum, I think it's okay if I mention Dan's name. Dan mentioned how he and his brother, for Christmas one year, gave his mother a year's worth of doing dishes. That was a gift. But there's, any number of ways, whether you're, creating a meal or cookies or, just. I have a few extra. And I'm gonna put this handout up on the faith forum, so it'll be there for people to look at later. But there are, any number of things depending on your skills. But it could be like offering to do something like, come over and spend time with someone, bring your knitting and just sit and have a conversation or read a book out loud to someone. But there are, I just put down some ideas in terms of things sharing time as a companion, gardening, you know, anybody that has a garden can always use someone that wants to come over and weed. I tried to get Craig to come over and weed last summer. He was having none of it.
Craig is a reader, not a weeder.
Yes.
But in terms of this year being focusing more on non-commercial, there was even an article, and I put a link on the page. In the business section of the Star Tribune, for gifts, think outside the box. And it was an article written by Harvey McKay, if anybody ever reads them. But it's a very thoughtful article. It kind of focuses on our non-commercialization. And he wrote, a gift is more than a trinket. It is a symbol of everything that went into it. Gift giving is a wonderful way to express love, appreciation, and thoughtfulness. And yes, Jen.
And I find it important to recognize to whom I'm giving a gift, to demonstrate that I understand who they are. And sometimes they're pretty surprised.
I think that's part of gift giving is recognizing, the age, what's appropriate, what their interests are. I admit it's getting tougher for my 7 to soon to be 8-year-old great nephew. But I still try to keep up a little bit in terms of things. I know he's big into wizards and dragons, which not area. But I'm also going to put another plug for the public library in terms of gifts to make and eat. But it's just a simple guide. It's just one. This is the only one that came in of the 4 that I requested, in addition to the gift wrapping. But you can get ideas from the public library by checking out books about gifts to make. One of the things that I mentioned on this list is terrariums that basically don't cost too much. They make a very nice gift, and you can use it. Something that's even in your own kitchen as a container. And it's something that takes your time, not a lot of money, and it makes a nice visual gift. And there's a link to terrariums inexpensively. And trying to think if there's anything else that I missed.
Terry?
Yes.
Could I just add something that came to me as we were talking? We have nieces and nephews, and I think they don't know much about their ancestors. And that would include their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, even how many there were. And what something special about each of those people that I happen to witness and admire. I'd like to kind of give that to my nieces and nephew. It may not be where they are right now, but they might hang on to it. And when they're older, they might say, gee, Aunt Lynn gave us this. I want to check on that. So I'm getting excited about that, and I hadn't thought of it until just this morning, thanks to comments people have made.
Family tree, again, in my day, I'm old, family Bibles, always had your family tree. And handing that Bible down to someone was a very significant gift. And depending on how many people there are in your family, there's only one Bible. So if you can do a family tree, and you can do this online, you can find the forms. And I did a similar thing with my niece. My niece is estranged from her father. So I'm the one that is the family connection, and she had questions.
Sure.
So I developed a family tree to explain, okay, we're from Norway, we're from Ireland, we're from Germany. There's different backgrounds. Yes, we were immigrants. And I think that's a great thing. And kids may not appreciate it right away, but knowing that it's available, I think is a huge gift. A huge gift. And I'm keeping track of the time. So we've got about 3 minutes left. Yes, Betsy.
Just to follow up with that, years ago, I was given a string of coral necklace, my cousin of mine, who said, "You remind me of your aunt, you know," and so these were hers and I want to pass them on. And that made me very curious about Nell. And she told me a few stories about her, and that kind of opened up a whole door to a connection there in the family. So I think about that often, and I really appreciate that my older cousin did that. And it was something that was very meaningful, you know, for something that paid attention. Yeah.
Another suggestion that it kind of connects to, depending on who you are, what age groups are, making a calendar of family birthdays and special events, anniversaries. I've done that in the past. You can use Shutterfly. You can do it on your computer now. But you know, depending on what kind of printer you might have, you can make a very personalized calendar that basically has special events in the family, whether it's, you know, anniversary of the couple you're giving it to, or all the birthdays in your family. You can make one calendar and give it to multiple, you know, people within your family that identifying the birthdays so that they can follow up with a birthday card on a date for somebody in your family. That doesn't cost much money except for printing, and depending on whether, you know, you're delivering them or sending them by mail. But that's another option.
So one thought that came to me during the conversation is gifts of memories. And I have a 93-year-old aunt in Duluth. And when I see her, I normally like to talk to her about memories I have of interacting with her father, who taught me to go fishing and manage a compost heap and all sorts of fun things. And she, probably more than anything else, she gets a smile on her face when I talk about those sorts of things with her.
And that's a gift. A gift.
Yes, indeed.
That is a gift. Yes, Kate.
Oh, there are lots of memories and close immediate family. My cousin I really love and is falling. She's coming undone with the rest of it. But anyway, when she was with her mother and my mother and our there were 3 girls. She sat them down and interviewed them and recorded it. And she gave it to each one of us so we can hear their voices and also their memories that we all really remember because we're kind of a St. Paul clan.
Yeah. But memories are a great thing. And I mentioned, I mean, back in the day when you had tape recorders and you could put music together. And I see people are peeling up. So we're gonna wrap this up, but I think anything that you can do that is a personal memory that you could share with someone else is a fantastic thing. My parents are gone. There's lots of questions that I have now that I wish I had asked them. So those memories are precious. But thank you everybody for coming this morning.